Huge news! Ben Askren is coming from ONE FC to the UFC, and Demetrious Johnson, the greatest of all time, is going from the UFC to ONE FC. But what happens to the flyweight division then? What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Inside Team Shorty, where I'll be giving you the reality, the truth, and everything behind the scenes of the sport of MMA. Today is Halloween, and yes, I am a day late putting this up, but as you can already guess, I am Stitch from Lilo and Stitch. Ohana, hi. But overall, let's get to the main topic. So, huge news. Demetrious Johnson is going to ONE FC. Ben Askren is coming to the UFC. It's a great thing for the sport. Again, every other sport does trades. The NBA, the NFL, soccer, so many other sports. And now MMA is finally catching up. I think it's a huge and great thing for both the athletes and the promotions. Mainly for these two athletes, they've accomplished everything they can possibly accomplish in their respected promotions. Now they don't just want to see that they're the best in their promotion, but now the best in the world. Again, Ben Askren, such a dominant wrestler in Asia, now coming over to the US, where the UFC in his divisions, wrestlers reign king. And for Demetrious Johnson, again, the best pound for pound ever in UFC's history, the most championship title defenses at 11, is now moving over to ONE FC, where in Asia, it's the complete opposite. The small guys reign king. And it's a great thing for the promotions too. They get to trade, have some fantasy matchups that the fans have just been dying for. And I'm excited to see how these athletes do in these new promotions. Will Demetrious Johnson be as dominant as he was in the UFC? And will Ben Askren be able to take down and hold on everyone he was able to, just like in ONE FC? But let's talk about the news that no one's really bringing up. In Ben Askren's division, he's perfectly set. But Demetrious Johnson, on the other hand, he left the UFC. The UFC flyweight division, honestly, has been very notable, and he was the best thing we had to offer. Again, I am a flyweight contender in the UFC. When we look at the bigger picture here, we had the best pound for pound champion in the UFC's history, and even then Dana White wanted to close, or at least threatened to close, the division. What's it mean for us now that he's gone? What do we as flyweights have to offer? Honestly, again, I believe we are one of the most talented divisions out there. We might not have heavyweight knockout power, but we have the speed, the technique, and everything else to make up for it. Again, we do have exciting fights, but sadly, we're not as well promoted as the lightweights, the welterweights, the light heavies, and heavyweights. So what does that mean for us small guys? Demetrious Johnson's set. He's accomplished everything he wants to accomplish. Now he's going over to ONE FC, where there's nothing but small guys. But for the UFC, the flyweights now have Henry Cejudo to challenge. The only bad thing, though, is Henry Cejudo wants to bump up. He doesn't even want to defend his belt against possibly José Formiga, which I believe is the next one in line. Henry Cejudo wants to bump up to fight TJ Dillashaw, which again is a great super fight. But in my personal perspective, I think you should at least defend the belt once, show that you're not just a champion, but a dominant one at that, and then move up to the next level and see if that's the right thing for you. Henry Cejudo is a big flyweight, and he fits perfectly with the bantamweight division, but I personally don't believe he deserves a super fight right off the bat, mainly after a split decision win against the pound for pound best. Given I'm biased and I think TJ Dillashaw would wreck Henry Cejudo, but that's not the point of the video. It's the fact that we have a great champion in Henry Cejudo that's not giving any other person in our division a chance to shine. He immediately wants to bump up and fight TJ Dillashaw, which, hey, that's great for you, but what about the rest of us? With a new champion that doesn't even want to defend the belt, and honestly, with the fans not knowing any other flyweight besides Demetrious Johnson, Henry Cejudo, and maybe Sergio Pettis, honestly, it doesn't look good for us. Now, again, this is all under speculation, all opinion-based rumors from what I've heard. Nothing has been confirmed. So don't just say like, oh, Shorty said this. No. Again, this is just me looking at the bigger picture from a business standpoint. Again, I'm a flyweight fighter. I believe I'm entertaining. I believe I can put on a show and really show the fans that we are exciting fighters. But from a business standpoint, when's the last time you've seen a flyweight main event? Given my stats, I might be wrong with this, but I think out of 11 title defenses for Demetrious Johnson, he was a main event maybe twice, possibly 3 times. The only other main event in flyweight history besides Demetrious Johnson has been Sergio Pettis and Brandon Moreno, 2 Mexicans who fought in Mexico City. They were trying to promote Mexican fighters in Mexico. Makes nothing but sense. You look at the backing that Yair Rodriguez had, the backing that Canelo has right now, and so many other Mexican fighters. But can the UFC do that with Henry Cejudo? Honestly, I really don't believe so. They might be able to promote Henry Cejudo, but I don't think they'll be able to promote him at flyweight. Maybe with him not even trying to give a title defense. I'm not bashing Henry Cejudo whatsoever. He's a phenomenal champion, a phenomenal wrestler. Again, he deserves the title. Even though I believe DJ won the split decision, overall, that doesn't matter. He won the belt. He has it. I believe it's his job to defend it. And if he bumps up and wins, that's even worse for us. Will he even ever come back down to defend his flyweight belt? Personally, I wouldn't. He was just on the Joe Rogan podcast talking about he wants to bump up. He wants to fight bantamweight. He wants to fight TJ Dillashaw. And he's had years of wrestling where he's been cutting weight. Again, he's in his prime right now, but what happens in a year or 2 years? Your metabolism starts to slow down. You're in your 30s. You just don't want to go down to 125. I know from personal experience with last minute weight cuts, it's not fun at all, and it can ruin your performance. So what happens to the flyweight division next? Well, there's a few ways to look at it. The flyweight division stays around. There's an interim belt, maybe even a vacant belt, and possibly a new champion. It gives a lot of opportunity, but will the UFC promote us? That's the biggest issue here. There's not many guys in the flyweight division that are like Conor McGregor, Colby Covington, the smack talkers that have a lot of promotion behind them. So will the UFC take time to publicize another athlete? The biggest three that they've promoted were DJ, which honestly wasn't much, even with his record-breaking accomplishments, Henry Cejudo, which is now champion trying to bump up, and Sergio Pettis because he is a Pettis. His older brother was the former lightweight world champion. That's something to definitely promote. But because he's lost to the #1 contender, Drew Formiga, and the champion now, Henry Cejudo, Sergio Pettis is actually bumping up to 135, given, again, his next fight is December 15th in Milwaukee. That could 100% be the reason he wants to fight at home. That still doesn't look good for us. Who else do we have to market? And again, I'm saying this from a business standpoint of view. If you go to the average fan, not the educated fan that loves DJ, loves Sergio Pettis, and loves everyone in the flyweight division, but the average fan, and we go, name me 5 flyweight fighters. More than likely, they're going to name those 3. Maybe 1 or 2 more, but not much. But if you go to any other division, they more than likely can name top 5, top 7, maybe even top 10, just because those bigger guys are promoted. It's not because they're more exciting, not because they're more flashy or whatever the case may be. It's the fact that the UFC has publicized them and the average fan knows who they are, or at least have seen them before. UFC fighters that are flyweights are usually UFC Fight Pass prelims or prelims at most. The only time you see a flyweight fighter in the main card is from a title defense, or the veterans like Joseph Benavidez. And again, I'm not trying to bash my flyweight comrades, because again, we're all amazing athletes that some of us can bump up, but what happens to the others that are honestly even small for the flyweight division? One fighter that stands out to me because I had the honor of fighting him before is Jared Brooks. He's a small flyweight fighter. He's fought at strawweight before. So what if the flyweight division gets cut? Does he bump up to 135? Which I believe he can, but would the UFC even want to keep him for that? Would the UFC honestly want to keep any of us to bump up? If they were to cut the flyweight division right now, what would they do? Pick and choose who bumps up? Would they keep everyone and respect the contracts and see where it goes from there? Or would they give you a chance, fight, and once you lose, you're out? This whole Demetrius Johnson-Ben Askren trade is phenomenal for the sport, and I'm excited to see where it goes from here. For both athletes, for both champions, both promotions, and possibly future athletes get traded. You never know, and the possibilities are honestly endless. But for the flyweight division, what's going to happen next? There's opportunity for us to shine, but no one's really helping us do that. And again, as the average fan viewing, most of them never watch the UFC Fight Pass prelims. Even the prelims on Fox, more than likely, and most of the time, they're waiting for the main card because that's the one that's promoted the most. And if a flyweight isn't on it, how are you going to know us? Again, we could be the best in the world, just like Demetrius Johnson. But if he's not publicized properly, no one's going to even want to respect him. Again, the guy did a suplex to an armbar to the #1 flyweight contender in Ray Borg. He is a phenomenal athlete. But if you're not promoted, who cares? No one knows you. And he wasn't respected in the UFC, and I think ONE FC is going to take full advantage of this. And with Ben Askren coming in, fighting the possibilities of maybe Khabib, GSP, Colby Covington, and so many more, these guys are the best of the best in the UFC. I'm just excited to see what's next. But for the flyweights, yeah, I know flyweights scheduled for November and even December, but is anyone scheduled to fight in January, February, or overall in the year of 2019? That, I don't know. I don't have a fight yet, and I'm still waiting. But I'm lucky because I was a 2-weight class champion in Titan FC. I fought at 25 and 35 and even defended both belts. But does that matter to the UFC? I have no clue. They can keep me or cut me if they cut the flyweight division. That's all their choice. Overall, what do you think? Do you think because DJ is gone, the possibilities are endless for the flyweight division? Or it's actually the complete opposite, and once he's gone, our division goes too? Let me know in the comments below what you think. And overall, again, happy Halloween, Ohana. And this was another episode of Inside Team Shorty. Thank you all for the amazing support, and until next time.